Oh, we got our presentation here going. So welcome everybody. I'm Cindy Myers, and tonight's webinar is going to be talking about supporting your energy system from stress. So like I was just talking about, we all experience stress. Life happens, and um, it, we get into a stressed out state. And a lot of times it's very subtle, so we don't always realize how much it's building up until uh, we're over that threshold and it's really impacting us. It can be very sneaky that way. And so important to use these tools, especially I think the world is just overly stressed out right now. So it's just a good habit to do, whether we think we're in a lot of stress or we know we're under a lot of stress, or we're not, we're just kind of plugging along and seem to be doing fine. It's still a good idea to use these tools. Okay. But definitely when we know we're on a stressful situation. So before I get going, if you're having a medical emergency, please call your doctor or 911. But what I can do for you all is help provide energy support uh, for your whole energy system, and try and keep everything flowing while you're waiting either to get support, or you're in the middle of medical treatments. We want to keep your body, mind, body, spirit. So we can keep your spirit and your mind cleared, get rid of those trapped emotions, keep everything flowing so that your body can do what it needs to do along with the help of your doctors and medical practitioners. I thought today, I usually end kind of with this chart, but tonight I really wanted to start with it, even though we're going to talk a lot about stress. And the reason I wanted to do this first was because we're going to be talking a lot about stress. When we talk about it, guess what? We're pouring those chemicals of anxiety and all sorts of stuff into our body, even as we're talking about it, remembering things that your master chef in your brain goes, oh yeah, I remember that stressful moment. I'm going to pour that those frequencies in you. And so we're going to be pouring some of the lower frequency stuff into our bodies while we're having this topic. So I want to counter it. So let's counter it to begin with. So it's a good idea before we even get started to take a couple of we're actually going to use our tools to begin with, and we'll talk more about those tools at the end. But just go ahead and take a few deep breaths. With a sigh is always good because you just kind of clear anything out. And think of something you're grateful for. So for me, it's easy because I'm grateful that y'all came on tonight. I'm grateful that my technology is back up and running. Very grateful for that. Grateful for my sweet animals. So as I'm picturing all that, and they're behaving right at the moment, so I'm very grateful for that. So I'm picturing all those things as I'm taking a few deep breaths and getting those chemicals in that can help. And again, look at that chart. They're magnitude stronger. So just getting a few of those beautiful white light and nice full breath in, and thinking of joy or gratitude, peace and calm, any of those emotions, love or above, as I say. We get those in, and now we're getting magnitude stronger. We're getting a nice dose of anti-stress medication in before we even start talking about it. So now I know I'm feeling a little more grounded just by thinking about that. The master chef has brewed up those chemicals as well. And now that we're going to start talking about stress, it can just help us keep balanced out a little bit. And that's important. Not only balance, but hopefully have us a little bit more of the good stuff, so that when we talk about this other stuff, it's not going to impact our body as much. So, or put us into our lizard brain. So I definitely don't want to be in lizard brain right now, so that I can help help work with you and do the demos later, and tap into our energy, right? So so that is some way we can do that even before, if we know we're going into a stressful situation. That's the tool. It's as simple as that. Take a few deep breaths, allow your body to get some of these beautiful the white light and these high frequency chemicals into our body. And that can help really carry us through a lot of stressful experiences. So now we get to talk about the stress. So We use that word stress and we use it a lot. It's overused a lot, but we don't really think beyond that word. But really, there's a lot of definitions of stress. I mean, I'm sure if you all want to type in the chat box some of the things that stresses you out, or that you're experiencing stress right now within your life, it we'd have some that were in common, but a lot that were unique. So, I mean, I had stress with technology. I mean, who hasn't had some stress over technology? So that's one definition, and it's actually a slightly different chemical brew than the stress over maybe worrying about what's going on in the world, worrying about family members, maybe worried about a pet that's having issues, all these things that we might have stress over. They have a slightly different chemical component to it. However, it almost doesn't matter because it still follows a similar pattern. Okay. When we get triggered and we have stress, it just puts us into those chemicals put us into a fight or flight response system. Okay. And emotions are really just, again, emotions are just chemicals that our body creates to relate to an experience we're having or have had, memory of an experience. It can also be broken down into an individual word or thought. So that's why every time I say stress, my master chef brain is brewing up a brew of some generic form of stress. Unless I'm thinking of something specific, it'll still brew up some of that chemical, and it's releasing it into my body. So every time we say that, every time we talk about depression, anxiety, oh, I'm anxious, oh, I'm this, oh, I'm that, it's your body is making up that brew and it's going into our body. And what happens is, again, it creates a response in our fight or flight response system. Okay. And when we're in that fight or flight response system, things happen. Let's go on into what's going on. Okay. It affects our physical body so that, you know, this system was designed way back when when we were cave people, and the saber-tooth tiger or somebody, could jump out at us anytime. And so we needed to react very quickly. Okay. It's about survival. And there's no thought, usually very little thought is allowed in the fight or flight response. And it's all about reaction. And because so much energy needs to go into that response because it's saying your life is in danger, you need to respond immediately, it turns down what is considered non-essential systems in our body. And one of those is our digestive system. We don't need to have our stomach, we don't need to eat in that moment that we're running for our lives because a tiger just jumped out at us, right? So it's going to shut some of those systems down, or at least turn them way down to minimal. And so if you're in a stress state a lot of your day, and think about how much of your day you're in a stressed out state, stress, anxiety, depression, all those things, guilt, shame, blame, all those emotions that might be in there, how much of your day is, or just worry, a lot of worry, what's going on in the world, what's going on at work, whatever it might be. If you're in that stressed out state, I have your deadlines coming up, you're stressed out, that means your digestive is turned down to minimal. All those emotions, all those thoughts, turn your digestion down to minimal. Okay. It's a lot of adrenaline, it's a lot of uh, fight or flight response system chemicals that run that system are coursing through your body, as opposed to those higher frequency emotions. Okay. And so that can wreak havoc on our body. It can break down our body. And then one of the main areas that a lot of people that have constant stress is they have tummy issues. They get ulcers. So so just think about that. What chemicals? It's very toxic. And that to me is, every time I get stressed out, I'm thinking I'm taking a dose of poison. I'm taking something really toxic into my body. How can I counter that toxic poison that I just experienced? It might not be able to help it, but I know that something really unhealthy is going into my body. So how can I shift that and change it? Okay, so I'm thinking about that, that physically this is going to make wreak havoc with my stomach. And then that's where it hurts me most is in my stomach. But it also affects my sleep issues. How many have hard time sleeping? That's a lot of that is because you've had too much of the stress chemicals in your body. So think about all the things that maybe your body is telling you, and that can often tell you what kind of level of stress you're in. So, or how much of those chemicals are going into your body, into your system. Your body might be the first thing that gives you a warning alarm that you might hear. Okay. So the other thing is it can skew, stress can skew how we perceive things. Because again, we're in our fight or flight response system, and how we see things is lizard brain. Lizard brain is looking at the problem, and it's kind of like this picture. It can really skew uh, what we're seeing. It may not be the full picture. It may not be accurate at all in how it really is, because we're only seeing it's kind of like looking in a peephole, through the door, you're looking in a peephole, and that's all you can see. You may not, you look in the peephole, it can be really distorted when you look at, and you might just see the person and it kind of flared out, and then you just can't see much beyond that. That's kind of what it is like when you are under a lot of stress. You're really seeing a very limited part of things, and it can be really skewed. So by using the tools we're talking about and helping us get out of that lizard brain, we can start accessing and seeing things from different perceptions. And that can actually help reduce the stress, because now we're going, oh, I didn't notice that before, or I thought you said it this way, and I perceived what you said to me, and I took it as something that hurt my feelings or made me angry or whatever it might be. Because it can definitely can impact our interpersonal relationships. And so what we're hearing from somebody can be totally off how their intent was meant. We're totally hearing it incorrectly because of the skewed perception that we're reacting from. Because we're again, if we're in the stressed out state, we're reacting from we want to run away from it, we want to fight it, we want to freeze. So if somebody says something, you might want to go, oh yeah, right. It's we're in that reactionary mode. Okay. So we want to get ourselves out of it along as fast as we can, or for a little bit, so we can at least shift our perception and look at it from another angle. And that in itself can help reduce the stress. So how do we do that? Well, we kind of got to, uh, you got to see what to do, exactly what I do in that beginning in our opening today. And if you came in a little late, that's okay, because we're going to go over it again. So it's really important when you're under a lot of stress, because again, life happens, stuff happens that just is out of our control. And to me, you can kind of, Stephen Covey talked about it in his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, that there are, you can kind of perceive things uh, as a circle of concern versus circle of influence. And what circle of concern means is that it's stuff that we worry about, that we stress out over. There's lots of stuff that we kind of just stew over, but no matter how much we worry about it, we have no impact on it. It's out of our control. It's going to happen the way it's going to happen. Nothing well, I'm not going to say nothing, but really just thinking about it and worrying about it isn't going to change the outcome. Okay. Circle of influence is something that we can do. We can do something about it and maybe have influence over. And so that gives us action, right? It gives us a focus, a funnel. We can have influence. Doesn't mean we will always have success, but we can actually attempt to have an impact. That area is something we can do something about it and maybe have a different outcome about it. So circle of concern, just worrying, being on the hamster wheel, worrying about it, ruminating over things and never changing anything about it. Circle of influence is that, I'm concerned about this. Well, then maybe there's something I can do about it. I focus on what I can do about it and not the part that I am just worried about. I just focus on what I can do about it. Now, when there's stuff that I just worry about, I have a niece that likes to rock climb and go up on these big cliffs and stuff. Scares the pants off me, right? And I worry about I would like to worry about her, but I don't like putting that energy out there. And there's nothing I can do about it, do for her, right? So what I do instead now is take myself out of that circle of concern, out of worry, and just say, well, what I can do is put a white light around her. That's all I can do. I'm going to just put a bubble of white light and think, I hope she has a safe, wonderful time and that she comes home safe and sound, and has a really great, has wonderful stories and has a great time. I put that energy into it as opposed to, oh my God, what the heck is she thinking? Going up on that cliff, right? and because that has a totally different energy. Those worry chemicals are going into me. We also are little radars, so I would be transmitting out those worry chemicals out to her, which that's not the outcome I want, right? The outcome I want is that she's has a good time and she's safe, right? So if I put that white light around there, you know what? It's that perception, that skew thing. All of a sudden, I have a very different outcome. My body feels totally different. I'm not as stressed out. That white light goes through me, goes to her. Now I'm transmitting out this wonderful, safe energy, and it feels so much better. That those chemicals are going through my body, which feel a whole lot better than the worry chemicals. I'm not putting those toxins into me, and I'm not transmitting out to anybody. Okay, so totally different. Uh, Again, way of dealing with the same experience. That's what I was talking about on the previous page, where we can perceive things. If we're in the fear state, we perceive it, we go, oh my gosh, this is bad. I don't like this. I want to fight this. I want to worry about it. And we're pouring really negative chemicals. We're pouring stress chemicals into our body. It feels really rotten. Doesn't make it feel better. I shift it, I breathe, I send white light to whatever it is instead, even if that's all I can do. There's nothing else that I can have impact on. That's the one thing I can have impact on. And I believe that when we transmit that out, that is way better than transmitting out the worry chemicals. Okay. We're trying to get the outcome we really do want, which is that she's safe, that your loved one is safe, right? That we're having a better conversation with each other because I'm calming myself down. So whatever it might be, I'm having a better outcome at work instead of having an altercation in this meeting because I just calm myself down and I'm listening. I'm listening differently because I'm not listening now with my fight or flight response system. I can actually maybe ask them a question and going, well, what exactly did you mean by that? As opposed to assuming and reacting. So it can help change that skew thing and level it off and go, oh, I thought you meant something different. Okay, that makes more sense. Now you're changing the whole dynamic. So by doing these exercises, we can just kind of level things and change that dynamic. And we're putting different chemicals into our bodies. So self-care, again, now there's things that are happening that we have no control over, again. So it's just important then to really be attentive and put a lot of intention into self-care when we're in a highly stressed state. A loved one is sick and has a problem. Again, put the white light around them. That's better than worrying. But you still can't help but worry a little bit. But it means, what, I got, maybe you're the caregiver, then you really need a lot of the of these positive chemicals going into your body. Anywhere you can do some breathing, gratitudes. Just take those 2 minutes and do a little breathing. It can help you count. It's not necessarily countering, you're just adding in. It's kind of like adding in an IV of anti-anxiety meds into your body. It's natural. It's just putting in some calming juices into your body while you're still in all this higher stress state. We really need to put in these calming chemicals as much as we can when we're in stress state. So think about where can you do that? And for me, when I've been in a really stressed state, I'll do it 20 times a day. It can be really often because you really only need a couple minutes to do it. You need to breathe. You need to do that, slow your breathing down and just think of doing something, that gives you joy. For me, it's petting my dogs. I take 2 minutes to pet my dogs. It's that simple. In that, but I'm doing it with intention. I just kind of let everything else slip for those 2 minutes. It's like pretty much anything can go on hold for 2 minutes while I do that. And I'm really allowing those chemicals to really come into my body. So I can feel it just kind of calming everything down. If I could do it a little bit longer, yay. But if I can only do it for 2 minutes, then that's what I'll do. So just think about, when can I add in those 2 minutes a day? 2 minutes throughout the day. Repeat it, rinse, repeat as often as you can, but make it the habit of giving yourself those 2 minutes. Okay. And then, let's get rid of those trapped emotions. Those really act as a magnet and help us trigger even faster. So we need to, those build up. And that's where in the stress, when we have more subtle stress, it's easy to determine when we have a major event happen. You're under a lot of stress from those major events. What's more sneaky is when it's the subtle stress. It's the little stuff. It's the stuff that we've really gotten used to and don't even think about it anymore. Stress is just like, well, that's just normal, right? You go to work and you have oh, deadlines and stuff, due dates. You just gotten used to it, right? So, but that is stress. And those little things just build up. And again, you got a threshold of what we can kind of manage without it impacting the rest of us too much. We can process that out and kind of keep up with it. But if it exceeds, it slowly builds up, slowly builds up, slowly builds up. And we're not kind of cluing in until it really exceeds that threshold. And now, you know what? We're not sleeping good. We're not digesting our food, our stomach. We're getting heartburn more often. Everything just makes us feel queasy. Yeah, we crave the wrong things, maybe the wrong foods to try and calm us down. Whatever it is, we're more snappish with our loved ones. We're over that threshold, okay? And we go, why am I so grumpy all the time? Why am I so tired all the time? And we're in that kind of a negative loop now. We've gone into a negative feedback loop. So now it just feeds off of each other because we don't even realize that we've allowed it to build up over there. So be removing these trapped emotions, that helps us get below that threshold. So now we have, well, our goal is not just to get below the threshold, but give us some padding again. So it's not impacting us as much. We can deal with it. Our day-to-day stress is much more readily. So getting rid of trapped emotions is really important. If you don't know how to do it, it's okay. I do. And then remember, there's lots of different ways to look at an experience a lot of times. And getting curious, be curious. Well, how else can I look at the situation? This is how I usually look at it, but maybe I can look at it from a little different viewpoint, and maybe that will help me be a little less stressed out about it. Just be curious and maybe look at things from another angle and see if you can't see a different way of dealing with it. It really can be helpful. Okay. So let's get into, if I can help you with all of this stuff, or you feel like you need some coaching and help specifically with what your life stressors are happening to you, then let's, and you haven't worked with me before, probably need a 45-minute session to begin with and kind of coach you specifically in how to work with and kind of you remember, it's this changing that perception. It's really hard to do if that habit is really well inbred, really well grooved into your mind. And so sometimes we need a little coaching to get the language to help you see it from another angle. So in that 45-minute session, I can help you kind of look at things a little bit differently and give you language to say instead of, well, I don't know how else to say it other than this way, because it's really hard to look at it from another angle when we're in that lizard fight or flight mode. And so you need the coaching to kind of help give you that language to see it in another way, especially if you haven't done it before. So get that coaching, get some emotions cleared. We can do a lot of in that 45 minutes, get you on your way. And then you get a 15-minute follow-up to help you kind of, well, I kind of got it, but then I forgot. I didn't quite get the handle of it. It's a little bit quick little coaching, some more trapped emotions are removed in the follow-up 15-minute session. And then we can kind of figure out what you need from there. But that's a really powerful tool for you a resource for you to use in your self-care is let's get a good kickstart and how to reframe and take care of ourselves. Is stress is probably the number one killer for us humans. It really, and animals too. It really, my alpacas, if they're under any kind of stress, they get sick. Okay, that is one of the first ways that I know that they're sick is if they've been in a highly stressed state, especially for any period of time, they get tummy issues very quickly, and it can be deadly. So it is that clear, and it's true for all species. It's not just us. So getting into a calmer state is really healthy. It's just about, if you take care by putting good food in you, let's take good care in helping our mind and our spirit too. It's mind, body, and spirit. All right. So the upcoming events. So tonight we'll follow up with a healing circle. If anybody wishes to stay on, I'm going to do a healing circle. And next Saturday, this coming Saturday, the 21st, we're going to do a healing circle as well. And then next Wednesday is my makeup, since I had to cancel one of my stressed out states was last week when my technology went kerflooey. So I had to postpone our class. So next Wednesday is going to be interpreting the subconscious class, and there is a $25 fee for that. But I welcome you all to come in on that, and we're going to come up with a really fun exercise so that you get to practice having our subconscious come out and having me help show you how to interpret it. So the exercise will have you talk with your subconscious and then understand how it's communicating to you. And then on the 28th, we're going to have another healing circle at 12 o'clock Pacific time. And the class is next Wednesday at 6 Pacific time. And if you have any questions, just shoot me an email at cindy@beananimallistener.com. Alrighty, so we'll close this out. And I see that some folks have put some stuff on their chat box. I'm sorry I couldn't read it. Well, I can't see. I can see that somebody put a chat, wrote in the chat, but I can't actually see the chat when I have my presentation up. So let's see. So Terry, yes, love the circles. Happy for them today. We got yes. Chronic pain, yes, chronic pain can create a huge amount of stress on our body, and it's kind of chicken or the egg. What came first, the chronic pain or the stress that led to the chronic pain? And again, that's becomes that negative feedback loop. So definitely want to help shift that. Stress, surgery, and friends that are very ill. So that can definitely cause stress. Stress with my mother's health and being a round clock caregiver. Yep, that is huge stress. And stress with upcoming tax return deadlines that I'm not getting completed. So again, work deadlines, that's a very common stress. So again, we can't circle of influence versus circle of concern. So we can look at what can you have impact on, what can we do, and then white light around the other stuff as best we can on some of those, and then get rid of as much trapped emotions so that those trapped emotions just again gives us less room. It takes so much energy, and it's kind of like compressing. If you have so many energy units a day, okay, you get so many energy units a day, and stress can take a whole bunch. And then but if we normally have this much, but if we've been in under a lot of stress, then our starting point is actually about right here instead. And now we have more stress. And so we really only have a little bit of wiggle room to handle our normal stuff. We just compress everything. So by getting rid of the trapped emotions, what we do is hopefully get ourselves back to out here with our better energy units for the day. Okay, so if we have too much trapped emotions, it compresses it down here, and this is our starting point. So by getting rid of trapped emotions, it gives us more room, and that's what we want to do with that. Let's see. And Terry, I have so much stress right now in my life because of COVID, and living in this world of hate and violence just sucks. Yes, the world can be really bad, and one of the things I'm doing right now in my self-care is really limiting the news, because what can I do about those things? The one thing I can do is, again, white light, putting that into our healing circles and sending beautiful energy out to the world. But can I fix the big problems out there? No. I'm not in that position to do that. But I trust and believe by sending the white light is way more productive than me just going, oh, this is horrible, this is awful, this is evil, this is rotten. I listen to about 2 minutes of news right now and then I shut it off. As soon as I feel my body starting to mm, do really yucky stuff, I'm turning it off and I'm going elsewhere, because all it's doing is taking me down with it. And that's not helping the world. So, one of the self-care things I personally doing right now is just, I don't like being putting my head, burying my head in the sand. I'm well aware of the problems out there. I'm well aware of Haiti and Afghanistan and fires and everything else going on in the world, COVID, but I'm just not listening and having it bombard me constantly, okay, with the negativity and this and the emphasis that news loves to. If it doesn't bleed, it doesn't print. So they are only showing you a whole lot of the bad. They're not showing you any of the good things, that the heroism and a lot of the good stuff that people are doing that can help counter it. So I'm really, if I am looking for something and want to hear something, I'm looking for what people are doing that are of benefit. And then I can read that. That gives me hope and makes me feel better. And maybe where there's a resource for me to support that is of benefit, instead of just getting mad and crabby about things. Because that's where I was. I was just getting really cranky. That's not me. I don't want to be like that. So so just be aware of it and look for ways of what can you do that's about self-care. If the outside world is just bombarding you, is it something you really need to know about? If the fires were right here close to me, yes, I need to listen to the news and be aware of do I need to pack up and go? But if they're not, then I have to let it go. Other than if somebody needs my help, do you need your animals, a place for your animals to come? Yes, I can make room for you. That's something I can do. Circle of influence versus circle of concern. Being aware enough to know what you can do. If you can't do anything, then just send the white light and helps keep safe white light around them. That's what I'm doing my best with. Okay, and then your kids are a big worry. Of course, we always worry about our kids, but again, it's better to put a white light around them than just stay stuck in the worry state. Okay. Um, and of course, your animals, yes, and paying bills. Yep, yep, yep. Money is a big stressor. All those things you listed, just about every stress we all have, and again, if we stay stressed out about it, it doesn't change any of those experiences. They're all there. What helps is if we can change the perception, going into the white light, going into the higher frequency, we can actually impact them we can have a greater chance of impacting them for the positive than just staying in the worry state. You're right, it's exhausting. It's totally exhausting being in the worry state. And that is one of the symptoms to look for. Are you always fatigued? That was one of my symptoms, because it was just very slow building. I had one of those slow buildups, and yes, I had some major events, and I went on autopilot. I got complacent because I know these tools. I just use them autopilot, and I I did what I told you not to. What I stopped doing what I told you to do, and that was with intention. I was doing a little bit with intention, but not enough. And it was I didn't realize how much slow building until I was going, God, I just keep waking up. I sleep, and I wake up tired. I'm so tired. And I heard myself saying, gosh, I'm so tired. Stress. That was stress talking. So finally, when I listened to what my unconscious was saying to me, I went, oh man, I'm stressed out. I am exceeding my threshold here. I better take care of this. I better add in a lot more self-care. And so that's exactly what I've been doing. I've been adding in a lot more self-care into my day beyond what my routine is. And I do a lot just a routine, but I needed more than my routine. Okay. Things were building up too much. So I needed to add in more. self-care, more meditation. I do healing circles. I do all this energy work. I get the benefit of it, and it's great. But it wasn't enough because I wasn't making the time to do my own meditation. And so now I'm making the time to do that. And it's helping pull myself out of that stressed out state. So we all, even the healers need healing too. So that's why I decided we need to do this topic, because if it's building up to my point where I can't exceed, then it's probably building up for a lot of people. We need to talk about it. We need to know, how do we support ourselves? How do we do self-care? Okay. Do you have any questions before we get into the demos? We got some little bit of time. I think we should do some demos for anybody that wants it. Get rid of some of those. I'm happy to do some complimentary releases tonight and help you get a little head start on getting rid of some trapped emotions. But if you have any questions about how this works or about how stress impacts us energetically, and it's really hard when we're in that stress state, it's hard to hear our spirit guides. Really hard. And that was one of mine. I knew I exceeded it, and I was in lizard brain and I couldn't hear anything. So I took a few deep breaths and I finally just reached out, closed my eyes. I was out doing chores and I said, okay, I need help. I asked my guts, I need help. I'm tired of feeling this way. I know I've exceeded my limits here and I'm off track. So help. I just said help. That's it. I just said help. 911. And so they said, oh yeah, remember, they gave me the message because I took the time and got myself focused on. I finally could hear them, and they gave me the message of, remember your true north. What's your true north? And oh yeah, and it's this work. It's getting me focused back into doing the work. And this is my true north, doing the work, staying focused on that, my books, the things that I have passion about, and not get caught up in all the other stuff. But again, circle of influence versus circle of concern. I got caught up too much in the circle of concern. And it can snatch you up and take hold of you really fast and very hard. And you're in that rabbit hole. They reminded me of being focused in what my circle of influence is, and that's my work. And I'm like, oh yeah, I know that. Right? It's a lot of times it's stuff we already know. It's just needing that reminder. And as soon as that happened, and I kid you not, this was so cool. Uh, I had my conversation in that little. It was about 5 seconds at the most conversation with my guide saying, "Remember your true north." And then I hear a flock of geese flying. And in Oregon, this is not the time of year for geese flying overhead. And it was a big flock, and you could hear them go honk, honk, honk off in the distance. Well, geese are my totem animals, and they were the ones, the spirit animals, that reminded me about my compass and finding my true north. And that was in the beginning of COVID pandemic when we first locked down, and that was the message that these wild geese gave me that had landed in my field. And here comes a flock of geese, and they dropped altitude and flew just above the trees, honking as loud as could be right over my head. I have not seen I have not seen any geese before at this time of year, and I haven't seen any since. Just that, and it was literally probably a minute after I had my conversation with my spirit guides, and then these geese flew over, and that was validation, big time, of saying, "Remember, true north." So when we let go and realize, help, asking our spirit guides for a little guidance, they answer. But it's really hard to hear them when we're in that stressed out state. So we need to do the breathing. We need to do breathing and adding in the gratitudes. And that's exactly what I did in order to reach the spirit guides. And I said, help, did some breathing first, try to clear myself a little bit, ground myself. And then they came in and said, and then the geese flew overhead, and it was so cool. And I got reformatted. It was enough to kind of give me a reboot and a reminder, that was what I needed to stay, because it was still that all this swirling distraction is still there. But now, instead of being in that peephole looking at the stress, I got a more of a tunnel vision, a little bit more of staying focused, really laser focused on my circle of influence. What do I have impact on? It's these webinars, it's my classes, it's my books, it's my sessions, it's you are my clients, and doing sessions with you and your animals. That's what I want to be really focused in on right now. And that really makes a huge difference in reducing my stress. Okay. And it hasn't changed all the other stuff that's going on. I still have a lot of other things going on, but man, is my stress level coming way down. Let's see, Gail, intestinal pain and also grief to release. All right. All right. Anybody have any questions yet? Anything you want to add? You can raise your hand. We can unmute you if you have anything. Anybody want to? Let's see. Well, Gail, you said you want to release. So, do you want to come on? Can I allow you to talk? Do you want to talk? And we'll do a demo. We'll do some releases for you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Because you said surgery and all that, so we know that's coming up, and that definitely will create stress. Oh, that's even more important when we know something like that's about to come in, that we keep a white light around ourselves, and know, we trust that that's the healing that we need to take, and then we support our bodies fully with everything else, with all our tools, with the surgeon, and then with every other piece of our tool, and that we're going to have healing, or because we're preparing our body for full healing. Okay. So let's clear anxiety, clearing that. Oh yeah, there we go. Overwhelm, clearing that. And I'm getting energy buzz. That clearing of that just made my earbuds go zzz, zzz. I don't know if you heard it, but I did. Discouragement, clearing that. Failure, clearing that. Unsupported, clearing that. And unworthy, clearing that. So again, in the healing circle, staying on with that, let's focus in on what you can do versus the worry state as much as you can. And again, as soon as you feel like you're worried and concerned about something, try and breathe and put the focus right back into white light around whatever. And even if you don't have any other language, you can always say, I'm just sending it white light. Okay, send white light, gratitude to that part, to that area, to whatever it is that you got a concern over. Let's just send a white light to it. And now you're sending it a whole lot different energy as opposed to the lower frequency stuff that just builds up and causes more. Again, it becomes in a negative feedback loop because it feeds on itself. The healing stuff is what we want to put into it, and that is carried by the white light. Okay, so
that's a question I was having, Cindy, where I wasn't feeling well, and I was giving myself Reiki and yes, visualizing the white light, but I wondered if it was being blocked by all the stress that I was having and grief. Was I having limited white light being sent to myself because I was kind of blocking it?
well, possibly. Sometimes we need an outside person. Our subconscious is so strong that, and that worry is so strong that it's hard to break through. But at the same time, the more that we put into it, or that we keep putting white light into it, that is healing and it is countering it. And then sometimes we do need just somebody that isn't tied to the issues to come in and help clear a lot more out.
Okay,
You
thank
know,
you.
it's like I can't always hear my animals, that, I know I have all these tools, but it's really hard to hear my own animals.
Mm,
There's reasons for that. My subconscious doesn't always want to hear what they have to say. I don't want to hear what news they may have. That isn't, I'll block it. My subconscious goes, no, I don't want to go there. I don't want to think about losing these guys, right? And so even though I'm trying to override
mm,
it, there's a part of me that's going, nope, 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 nope. Bury your head in the sand, fingers in the air, going la 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 la.
yeah.
You don't want to hear it. So sometimes we need an outside that isn't attached to the to whatever, personally attached to the issue,
Mm,
personally attached to the animal, so that we can hear more clearly. And so sometimes we just need that other person to come in and help guide and clear stuff. But it still is of
okay,
great
okay.
benefit to still do your own stuff. It's still doing
Mm,
something. It just may not be able to overcome everything. Does that make sense?
mm. Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Thank
And,
you.
yeah, and when you're in a lot of grief, so yes, I'm in my own grief right now, and so that's one of the stresses. And it's not that I want to. I don't want to avoid the grief. There is a purpose for some of these emotions. It's just that I don't want to get stuck in
Mm,
them. And so I use the
okay.
gratitude and everything else to help me flow through the grief so that I can experience it fully and keep moving. I just don't want to get stuck in it. It doesn't mean I want to avoid and pretend that these
Mm,
things aren't existing. There's a purpose for especially grief. There's a relationship
mm,
and that's no more. Or it's
yeah.
shifted into a different, the relations are very different. That's not one that you can talk to them and see them every day anymore. They've crossed over maybe, or they're whatever it is, you know. So you still have a relationship with them, but it's very different.
Yep.
But you need to grieve that loss because that was an important relationship. Probably there was some value in it, and you need to feel it. It's gone. It's different. It's not the same. Won't ever be the same again. You need to feel that. And the problem is that we don't teach ourselves. That's probably why we get so stressed out about and get stuck in grief, is because our society doesn't teach about how to grieve. And so we want to avoid it because it's so scary.
Mm,
But when we
yeah.
can, but when we know that to fully
Mm-hmm,
embrace
mm-hmm.
it honors the relationship. To me, it honors it to feel bad, to miss it, and at the same time feel gratitude because I had it. So the gratitude helps counter it. And I'm having both
Yeah.
at the same
Thank
time.
you. Mm,
And the gratitude keeps me flowing
yeah.
through. And then I know and I trust that the grief, that the pain of the loss eases with time, but the love stays strong. The gratitude of having relations stays strong. And that's what I focus in on. And that helps carry it through. And the grief can come through in cycles too,
Mm,
because you you feel it intensely
yeah.
in the beginning doesn't mean in a year or 2 or 3 it may not flare up again, and it may be almost as strong as the original grief, if not sometimes even stronger, because the reality of, God, I miss that person or that animal or whatever it is. Oh man, I so miss them. And you'll find yourself going into another funk over it. But then you go use your tools, use that gratitude, and that can help you carry it through.
Mm,
And there's
mm,
something to learn about.
mm,
There's a reason. There's purpose from there's actual a purpose for these negative emotions. They're not made to avoid them. It's that their purpose has been abused. We don't know how to deal with them. And so then they get stuck because we don't know how to work with
mm,
them and find the purpose of them. So that's where the coaching comes
yeah.
in, that I can help you understand what is the purpose behind it. That's where the growth comes from. Our personal growth comes from the negative. A lot of these negative emotions is where a lot of our personal growth comes from. But we need to use the higher frequency chemicals to help us, one, to go down and look at that dark and shadowy stuff, and to then keep us moving so we don't stay stuck in it. But this is where the
Mhm.
growth is.
Okay. Thank you. Very helpful.
Good, thank you. All right, and Bonnie, can you help me paint pink? Yes, let's see what we can do. I can't help you, Bonnie. Are you on, do you have voice capability, Bonnie? That helps me if I can unmute you. There.
Yes.
Okay, hi, Bonnie. If I can get
Yes.
a little faster, if I'm making a dent in the discomfort by releasing stuff. So let me just scan for a moment. You feel some of this discomfort in your lower back right now. Is that part of it?
Yes. Yes.
First emotion is some nervousness, clearing that. Oh, there we got a little, I got a little pop and a little release. A little more on the, that was on the left side, so now I'm feeling a little more on the right, but I got a little room on the left. Let's see what else. Discouragement, clearing that. Oh, your neck is jammed too, isn't it?
Hmm.
Helplessness, clearing that. Unworthy, clearing that. Neck is still limited. Is it's tight. Vulnerability, clearing that. Oh, there we go. Oh, that was a nice release out of your back. Feels like you can breathe a little bit more. When you have that much pain, it's
Yes.
kind of hard to get a good breath in. So you might be able to kind of do it slowly. Don't take it just a big breath like that, but kind of see if you can't take a little fuller breath. See if that doesn't give you a little more room.
Yes.
Good. And I have a little more movement to my right on your neck, but not to the left. So let's see what we can do there. Defensiveness. Okay. Now I think you can move your neck a little more to the left as well.
Hmm.
So I encourage you from, I'm hoping you'll stay on for the healing circle, but kind of keep breathing, adding in, we'll be starting shortly, but for now, right now, keep breathing. If you have an ice pack or anything like that for your back, put something, I would use an ice pack. It feels a little inflamed.
Okay.
So maybe
Mhm.
a little ice might feel good and help keep that inflammation down. I don't know. If you have something like that, an icy hot something.
Yeah. I have.
I got some energy moved out of there, but it still feels kind of tight and inflamed. So that that's what I feel like. All of a sudden I got a craving to put an ice pack down my pants. In my lower back and down in my upper pants, at least, not the lower pants.
My American Express card.
But that might feel good for the next little bit, and then just keep breathing and keep that breathing will help keep that energy flowing, because you really weren't able to get a good breath in because it was so tight. And then we'll
Thank you.
keep that all in the healing circle so we can just keep that energy flowing in there. We'll really boost it a lot during the healing circle for you. Thank you. Anybody else have anything? We got a couple more minutes we can use, or we can go right into the healing circle, whatever you guys want. Me, Michelle, me. Okay, Michelle. Let's see if I can find you. Are you there, Michelle?
Hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
I don't like to hog the time, so I wait till the end to see if you have any left.
Okay. Okay.
Somebody else go first.
We got a few minutes. So, so overwhelm. Yeah. I'm gonna
Mhm.
clear that. Oh, you guys are making me hot. Anxiety, clearing that. Guilt, clearing that. Lack of control, clearing that. Helplessness, clearing that. Okay, same with you. You like to carry it in your neck. So we did get some more movement in the right side, but the left is still tight, I think. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
Mhm.
Frustration, clearing that. Hmm. Lost, clearing that.
Lost.
Mm-hmm. So for you, I'm feeling a lot in the upper shoulders. Well, that kind of makes sense because it feels like you're carrying the weight of the world on those shoulders. Um, so when you do your 2 minutes of breathing regularly, for those 2 minutes, while you do some deep full breaths and your gratitudes, picture that weight of the world just setting it down for a little bit. You can always pick it back up, but for those 2 minutes, you're just letting it go and doing your self-care, because you're going to have to pick up the ball anyway, to do your caregiving for your mom. And those things you can't stop doing right now. So the ball goes back up. But for those 2 minutes of self care, it's that oxygen mask going on you so that you can help others. Okay. And so it's really important that that self care is just really about you. So picture setting it down, it's right there. Do your 2 minutes of breathing, gratitude, joy, whatever it gives you, helps fill up that tank. And then you can pick up the ball and take care of whatever you need to do again. Okay. And do that as often as you can. And it's really,
Thanks.
really important. Okay.
Yeah,
And
you did.
it allows you to do those things for others. Okay. It's not being selfish. It's about, if you don't take care of yourself, it's not, if you break, then you can't take care of everybody else. So it's really important that you put it into your tank. And those 2 minutes, however often you can add into your day, and it should, I hope it can be more than once. It should be about 8 or 10 times a day. Put those 2 minutes into real effect, make it intentional, set that world down for a little bit. You can, you will pick it right back up, I guarantee you, and then you go. But at least it gives you a little bit of respite. You need that energy in there, and we need to clear a bunch of stuff out of you as regularly as possible. Okay, we got to keep up with it.
Well,
That's the hard thing with caregiving. If we have to do it, but it takes a huge toll on the caregiver. The self-care for, this is how I got into this world, was because caregiving, I thought I was going to go first before my mom did. I really did. Even though I was way younger, but it took such a huge toll. And it took a lot of years. It took over 6 months just to not feel crappy after she passed. It took that long to recover from all that adrenaline, just not even to feel good, just to stop feeling crappy all the time. And I still haven't fully healed. It really takes a huge toll. And so, and I didn't have all these tools back then. So that's why I really focus on, I have a very fondness for caregivers. We need to take care of you because we got to
One,
keep you.
one thing I wanted to mention, you said something on the left side. I was pulling weeds Saturday, and I had some that were, because my yard looks like crap because I haven't been able to do it. And I was yanking, and I ended up like dislocating a rib,
Oh,
according to my chiropractor. So
ow.
it's still hurting, but he said it was dislocated and he put it back in. But I just wondered because I mean, even like if I have to cough or something, it hurts.
Okay.
So I don't know how long that takes to heal, but it's been rough, and it's on the left side, and it's right around the bra line, kind of. It's where it kind
Okay,
of comes around.
that makes sense of where I was feeling stuff. Okay, so let's see, I can hone in specifically to that spot. So I'm going to clear resentment. Unworthy again, clearing that. Overwhelm, clearing that. Worry, clearing that. Hopelessness, clearing that. Okay, so now did it budge that discomfort at all?
I don't know. It's matter of fact, when I scrunched my shoulders up, my back was like loosening up. It felt like it was cracking, like it was
Okay.
opening up a little bit.
Okay,
So
good.
hopefully-
So we got some movement. All right. So in the healing circle, put that in the center for the healing and really
Yes.
focus a lot on that white light, going to that spot yourself, as well as everywhere else that you need it. But put the breathing, gratitude, send it right to that spot. That's where it needs some TLC. It's like somebody got poked you in the ribs and you need attention.
Yeah, true.
Mhm,
It's about it where it is.
mhm, mhm, mhm. Body will tell us what to do.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Bonnie wrote she worked in a nursing home for 28 years before she had to go out on disability. Right. The caregivers, whether it's for your own loved one, anybody that works in that field, therapists, all these folks that do a lot of caregiving and absorbing of people's pain and suffering, we tend to be very empathic people if we're good at it, and we absorb it. We can't help but take it on, and we need to learn how to clear that and do a lot more self-care because, it's a special thing we're doing for folks, but it can take a huge toll on us. And so we need to counter it with a lot of self-care. It's putting that oxygen mask on. Self-care it's not about being selfish. To me, I don't like that word or the definition of how we interpret it and how we've been told what it means. What we've been told meaning selfish is that we're, self-absorbed and it's all about us and we're not being thoughtful. But to me, selfish means there's less self, less capital S. We're giving so much to others by being selfless. There's less self. Yet that's honorable. It's considered honorable to be less self. And so that's absolutely the opposite. To be selfish means by taking care of the self, we actually have more to give. And so it's so important. It's so very, very important that so glad that you've taken the time tonight. You've given yourself some time tonight to take care of you. You should be grateful to yourselves, honoring yourself, congratulate yourselves for taking the time to take care of you. This is your time. And that's really, really important. You keep doing that for yourselves, especially when you're in these intense, long-term, especially long-term events in your life. It is even more vital because it will take its huge toll physically, but all three, mind, body, and spirit. It will take a huge toll on them if you do not do your self-care. And the beauty of it is when you do the self-care, that's where a huge amount of growth comes from it. And we can see the beauty of doing the role that we're in. Okay. And again, it shifts that perspective. And it makes it a little bit easier then to do the work and to make the decisions because now we understand our purpose and our role in doing it. And it just even shifts that energy. So maybe that takes some of the stress. The stress is the worry that we're not doing it good enough. We're not, well, blah, 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 blah. That lizard brain is telling us that probably isn't true. And it's skewing our perception. But when we can then shift it and see and looking at it from our bigger brain and then seeing it from our purpose and then seeing it, wow, I'm honored to be playing this role. It's hard. It's not really hard, but you know what? I really feel close to this person. I'm actually feeling I can get bonded with them in a deeper way. I'm getting the honor of seeing them, maybe take their last breath and helping them cross over. Wow, that is an amazing to be selected for that role. Now I'm shifting. You see the difference in the language versus the other. So it's shifting that language and perception of the same role, same event, but we're looking at it from a totally different viewpoint. And by
My
doing
whole thing,
we can shift our stress.
my whole thing is the fact it's been like 2 years and it's not that, I mean, she was here for COVID. I mean, it wasn't like she's like that close to death or anything, but I'm starting to feel resentful because like even this summer, I've done absolutely nothing. I mean, because I'm chained to the house now and my siblings are going on vacations and, I'm not getting any help. And so that's what's, and here it is.
And we cleared unsupported and resentment,
Yes.
right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Right.
But I'm noticing as we get closer to fall, it's just getting, I did nothing at all, and haven't been anywhere in 2 years, and it's just, I just feel chained to the house. That's the hard part.
Well, if you have time, schedule an appointment, and we can help you maybe change some of that dynamics and give you some tools to help you deal with that and help you feel unchained.
Yeah.
And maybe
Okay.
get you unchained and
Right.
get you some
Yeah.
support. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All righty. So with that, I'm going to stop the recording.